Hello and welcome to another video of Neptune. Maybe it's the last video about Neptune, I don't know. I'll put a link of the other Neptune videos that I've done, and also the first one explains what Neptune is all about, but this video is about the transits. This video is about Neptune transits. What is that all about? How can we cope with it? Especially for the mutable signs. So especially because that is the challenging aspect. So I'm talking about the Virgos, the Pisces, the Sagittarians and the Gemini. So these people are having this Neptune transit in a challenging aspect, in a square or in an opposition or a conjunction. I think even a conjunction is a challenging aspect, or could be challenging, because it's an outer planet, it's Neptune. But I'll explain that in a minute. Now, when people do have transits, I absolutely believe that even though sometimes it's challenging, it's the best what can happen to people. It reflects the best situation as it is, and that it is this road and this journey that these people have to take. So if you're saying this to people who have a Pluto-Uranus transit, it reflects that these people have to take a journey of excitement, a journey of transformation, a journey of freshness, and a journey of change. So that's all very active. When people have a Neptune transit, it's totally different. It could be a road and a journey of confusion, of maybe some of us, I say us because I'm a Virgo as well, can be deceived in certain areas, but that is only in a negative way. So I talk about that in a minute as well. So this journey is not as much as it is like with transits of Saturn, that there are restrictions, transits of Pluto-Uranus, there are changes. Neptune is also about giving someone an opportunity to tap into something that is bigger than oneself, and to broaden their point of view, their perspective, their and to connect with the divine. I think that is what Neptune is all about on a positive level. So for these people, that is the opportunity. But let's have a look at the different signs, because people, of course, when you're having transits and you want to understand what's going on with you during that transit, during that moment, you need to look at your natal chart. You need to look at how you react upon things. How is this energy easy for you or not? So that's why I'm going to talk about those 4 signs. Now, first of all, I'm going to start with the Sagittarians. Why? Because I think, so people who have a planet in Sagittarius between 0 and 5 to 6 degrees at the moment, they are having, or an ascendant in Sagittarius, they are having a Neptune transit. So these people, Sagittarians, I think they can cope quite well with it, because Sagittarians are very much interested in broadening that perspective as well, because their ruler is Jupiter. And Jupiter is not the same as Neptune, but they can get along with that. They have this philosophical understanding that things happen for a reason. So if they are confused because this is a square, they can deal with it better, because they have this understanding that this is for some reason. You know, a Sagittarian always looks for a reason and tries to understand the bigger picture. So that's really in their nature as well. The only thing they have a bit of a problem with is that they can't aim their arrow. So I can speak for myself, actually. I just had one. I just had a Neptune transit squaring up to my ascendant in Sagittarius. And the only problem I had is that Sagittarians, they like to have a goal, you know, a long-term a vision, and you know, it doesn't have to be in detail, but they really like to know where they're aiming at, and if they don't, they get a bit frustrated, if you like, or confused. So that's the only thing that could be challenging for the Sagittarians. But all in all, I think that these people are coping very well with Neptune transits, and that these people can really take opportunity. So what I said about connecting with divine and seeing more levels on planet Earth, you know, seeing other levels and connecting with that. So that's for the Sagittarians. Now it's opposite side, Gemini. This is also very funny. You know, when I think of Gemini, I mostly think of people that are funny. Not every Gemini is funny, but most of them they are. And that's also the best way to look at a Neptune transit if you are a Gemini or if you have a planet in Gemini. Now these transits happen in a certain area of life. It can be your first house, Neptune in your second house, and so on and so on. So the area of life, I can't go into that now. But to give you a bit of the flavor, people who have Neptune transits squaring up to a sun at the very beginning of Gemini, for instance, they can really sit in front of you in the consultation and say, when is this transit going to end? You know, this confusion, I've had enough of it. When is it going to end? You know, it's very funny how they deal with it, because they are very much here in the head, just like the Virgos, and they want to understand what is happening. So they are very curious at the same time, but they want to know the answer now. You know, they don't want to wait, and they, you know, you can give them explanations, but they really don't take it here on a soul level, or how do you call it, on a heart level, because they are so much in the mind. So you really have to speak to them also with terms of the mind, and really explaining to them what this transit is all about. And but still, still it is very difficult for them to get the whole picture when the transit is doing its work. I'm not saying that they can't understand it, but I'm just saying that they're only going to see the light at the end of the transit. Or when they, time is in favor actually with Neptune transit. So the longer it prolongs, or the longer it is doing its work, the closer they're getting towards the light. And for a Gemini, that's really frustrating. You know, I had this woman with the Venus in Gemini at 1 degree. So that transit is over, but she really had, it was a very young woman, and she really had the luxury difficulty, or the luxury challenge of being in love with two men at the same time. I think that's typical, or not typical, but could be the case with the Venus in Gemini. So she was really, you know, she wanted to know the answer. And if that happens, the only thing that you can ask yourself is really why this confusion is going on. You know, why the confusion? And then look at the answers, or the answers it can give you. You can ask yourself the question, if I would have this answer right now, would I be happier? Would I be able to cope with it? Would I be dissatisfied? Would I be you know, my idealism, would it be like this? And so on and so on. I really truly believe that the confusion is there for a reason, and sometimes kind of protects us, even in some kind of ways. But generally, I think Geminis can deal with it, with their sense of humor, and with their, you know, their lightness. So that's for the Geminis. Now let's go on to the Pisceans. What is happening there? they have this, if you've got a sun in Pisces or an ascendant or another personal planet, you've got Neptune on that particular planet when it's on the same degree as Neptune is. And there, I think, is a distinction between two kind of Pisceans. You know, the old sign of Pisces is two fishes that are swimming in opposite directions. And I kind of experienced that Pisceans, there are two kinds of Pisceans coping with this Neptune energy. First, you've got the Pisceans who have certain planets in earth signs, or a Pisces who have like a Taurus ascendant, or a Pisces who've got some planets in Aries, or who've got a strong Saturn, you know, a Saturn on the ascendant, or a Saturn in Gemini, or a Saturn in Capricorn, and so on. That backbone. Those Pisceans are really having the best time ever, I think, because there is this Neptune energy that they really know. It's their nature. It's their nature to tap into other worlds. It's their nature to understand other levels of understanding. It's their second nature, and at the same time they have this balance in their horoscope because they can put it, apply it here. They can apply it through their work or through their relationships, and they're getting, don't forget, the support of Saturn in Scorpio, which is Saturn is all about planet Earth, and Saturn is all about feet on the ground, and Saturn is beautifully trining Pisces, so they get the support sometimes as well, you know, that they have this Neptune and they have this Saturn. And as I talked about that in many of the monthly horoscopes for Pisceans, if you mix the two, you really have something beautiful going on here. So I think for them, quite some Pisceans can say, hey, this is nice. But of course there are other Pisceans. There are Pisceans who don't have anything in an earth sign, or you have Pisceans who don't have a strong Saturn, maybe Saturn in detriment, or, you know, Pisceans who are already, it's already their nature to be boundarylessness. So they have, or maybe they have been having some issues in their life with boundaries. So these are the kind of Pisceans when they have this Neptune transit on their sun or on their whatever, then they kind of escape, or they kind of dissolve, and that is not nice. That is so I don't want to show that this Neptune transit is all wow wonderful for the Pisceans, because it really depends on your personal chart, of course. In general, these people have had, as I said, challenges with boundaries. And so when a planet like Neptune has this great quality, but when you overdo the quality, it you know, these Pisceans really go almost feel as if they fall into the abyss, and they have no backbone anymore, or they have, how do you say that? They have no feet on the ground anymore. Now, as I said in the beginning, I think this is the process for them as well. You know, even how strange this might sound, I think this is the process to knowledge and to understanding and to the light at the end of the tunnel when the transit is over. I think this is exactly what they need in order to become what they have to become. And so they will also be rewarded at the end of the tunnel when they are understanding and being aware of what this Neptune wants to do. You know, the broadening of all the areas, or all the different levels that are there, and also the connection that they want to make. And actually, maybe they are just learning to ground themselves, basically, on a very day-to-day level. So for these Pisceans, the tips or the advice is a lot about staying in the moment. And of course, these people really don't like that when you say that, because that is exactly what they're having trouble with. But there are some tips, very interesting things that they can learn as well. Like, first of all, protection. Like, and what do I mean by protection? It's by saying no to the vampires. Saying no to the vampires. You know, I don't have to explain to a Piscean, I think, the vampire people in the world. You know, just go to your kitchen and take the garlic and show it in front of them. What I mean is that these people, because they are so open, other people who are taking advantage of them, and of course the Piscean, normally they are very compassionate and they are very understanding, but they're not always that selective. So that's why I think a good tip is to really protect yourself and to be aware of the fact that not everyone is just a wonderful person, that it's not always in saving other people that you are going to help them. On the contrary. So, but I think that a lot of Pisceans are aware of that, so it's good for them to isolate, not to isolate, but you know, to be in their world and not to be influenced by other people's energies. I know Pisceans who if they go to places where a lot of people are, they are really out of their thing. You know, they are really not at ease anymore because they've lost themselves. So for them, it's very important to do day-to-day stuff, you know, and maybe buying an animal, buying a dog or a turtle or fish, because that gives you this obligation to maybe to walk out the dog every day, you know, doing things on a daily basis. And animals can put you very much in the now, I think, even if it's a turtle you have to feed, because this is what is good for these kind of Pisceans, you know, doing day-to-day stuff, doing routines and doing sports. Even if you don't like any sports, go for a swim, maybe you like that. But not doing it once a week, doing it 3 times a week or 4 times a week. You know, that some things that oblige you to be on planet Earth. Or children, to connect with children. Why? Because these are children are very much in the now and they are very creative. Another tip is to be creative, to use all that idealism, to all that fantasy, all that imagination, use it and do something with it today, you know, because being creative is not only tapping into inspiration and the divine and everything, it is also doing a very earthly thing. Being creative, you create something and that is good, then the energy has a positive outlet, and it could be making something, it could be you know, painting, or I mean, painting the kitchen. You know, maybe you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend that says, this kitchen really needs a new you know, painting again. So also surround yourself by positive people, surround yourself by very grounded people who say, hey, are you going to make rice tonight or potatoes? You know, people who really put you into the now. I think I've given enough of tips, but again, I think for those Pisceans, it's a huge opportunity to become whole. And I don't like the word healing too much, because if you believe in that everything is already whole, then that nothing has to be healed. But I think also in that is a huge opportunity for Pisceans. Now let's go to, last but not least, to the Virgos. As I am a Virgo myself, I pretty much know how challenging Neptune transits are. And with challenging, I mean that this is a totally different nature, the Virgo nature. The Virgo nature is the nature of, and it's good in a Virgo to express yourself as a Virgo. So a Virgo only believes something when they experience something, and if they see that it works through their experience, they get along with it and they integrate it. So it's very important for a Virgo, if they are aware of the fact what Neptune can do, to try it out. And of course, depending on the area of life, it is situated in your chart. So let's say it's in your 9th house, and it has to do with the teaching. Maybe you are a teacher. I did once have, I did a workshop, and this was a workshop about how to do meetings in an efficient way. And this was something I did on a regular basis for HR people, you know, how to, they do a lot of meetings, and how to do it on an efficient way. Then a certain day I had to replace someone. So I said, okay, no problem. And I didn't know, I forgot to ask, which was not, of course, not good, but I forgot to ask who's my public. So I was there with all my slides and all my things and all, you know, a Virgo organized person, and looking at my public, who was, all of them were 60 plus. So I saw very rapidly that I didn't understand what I was talking about, you know, and afterwards I really thought they were kidding me, but words like flip charts and all of that, I didn't understand it. So at that particular time I thought, you know, I have to tap into, I didn't think that I have to tap into the Neptune energy, but I thought this is not working. I have to put out the slides, put off the slides, and talk in another way, and try to feel these people. You know, Neptune is a lot about connecting. It's a lot about connecting with what's in front of you. And so I did that. I did it in a, you know, in a totally different way that I was not used to do it, you know, in a circle and talking about their experiences. I just trusted, go with the flow. And it was one of my best workshops ever. You know, the reward, if you let go of that, I just want to show you an example to the Virgos, because I know that they want the examples and the experiences and the concrete examples. So, and they even clapped their hands at the end of the workshop. I had never had that. So it simply shows that I think when Virgos really just go with the flow a little bit more, I'm not saying just losing themselves, on the contrary, I'm just saying embrace it, and not forcing it too much. There was this other client who had Mars at 2 degrees of Virgo, and Mars ruled his 10th house, so the house of work, and he was really looking for a job for quite some time. Actually, when the transit started, he was how do you call that? He was fired. And he couldn't find a job. He couldn't find another job, and he was forcing, and he was doing this, and he was, you know, like the Virgo. They want to understand why, and he was quite active with trying to find another job, but it simply didn't work. And he was having Neptune in an opposition with his Mars. As soon as he did, I advised him to, for 1 month, just don't look for the job. I wouldn't advise that to everybody, but I advise him not to look for a job for a month and do some Neptune things that he liked. So he did. He liked to go out and was very social, and in that period he met someone at a party. He met someone who then became his boss. So is this a coincidence? I don't know. That's up for you to think about. But it was the end of the transit and this confusion time for him, which was very hard, not knowing what to do. as soon as he had the trust and letting go of it, he got the reward, and it was something very Neptunian-like that he did, the kind of work. I mean, it was a roadie or something. So so that's it. It's I think Neptune transit is a transit of quite some time. So I think we can't force things, and I'm saying this especially for the Virgos. So there is an explanation in the confusion. There is a reason for that, and I hope I have cleared out just a tiny little bit of that. I also will put up links to other Neptune videos, and of course, if you want to know if you are having a Neptune transit, you want some advice, keep in touch, or you can order a consultation. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.